Hi everyone, we're good to go. We're going to call to order the Board of Variance meeting for March 4th, 2021. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded for the public. And my name is Jessica Kamen. I'm the chair of the Board of Variance, and I'm joined here by other board members, Nelson Allen, and via Zoom we have Alan Dick, Dariush Fruzi, and Ken. Thank you. Ken Hempel. Introduction of late items. We do have, no introduction of late items for today. The agenda for this evening's meeting does need to be amended to add staff liaison to other business at the end of the meeting. So an amendment of the agenda for today. And considering the amendment, any other changes? And if not, we need to adopt the agenda. So we'll have a motion to adopt the agenda. Nelson's moved the agenda to pass. Can I get a second and all in favor? We good? Thank you, board members. The minutes from last meeting. Minutes of the open Board of Variance meeting held here in the boardroom, Service and Resource Center, 411 Dunsmuir Street, on Thursday, January 7th, 2021. We have those meeting minutes, and if there's any changes or amendments, please say. Otherwise, we should have a motion to adopt those minutes as well.
Jen, I have a couple of questions, more for clarification.
Of course, Ken, thank you. Did you want to refer to the page number of the minutes for clarification?
I could, or I don't think it'll affect the adoption of the minutes. It's more, well, I'll just tell you what it is.
Great, thank you.
I noticed in the minutes, I did not attend that meeting, that there were two items that seem to be related to late notices to neighboring properties. And I was just, I'd like to ask clarify what those requirements are.
I can refer that clarification to staff. Thank you.
Yes, through the chair, yes, we do have a notification bylaw as well as our Board of Variance bylaw that together dictate how notification shall take place. Up until recently, we have been doing our notification via Canada Post. However, there has been some significant delays in the past few months we've noted, and we are now doing hand delivery of notices as well as by Canada Post, and we'll be doing so for the foreseeable future. Does that help perhaps with your question?
Yeah, it talks to the speed. I'm just wondering, I can't quite recall what the space or the distance requirement is.
Right, again, refer to staff for the clarification.
Sure, yes, through the chair. The distance is 10 meters or the width of any adjacent road right-of-way plus 10 meters.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Any other questions or concerns about the minutes from last meeting? Could we get a motion to pass the minutes then? All right, Nelson made a motion to accept the minutes. Could I have a second and all in favor? Thank you. All right. Excellent. Moving on to the applications for tonight's meeting. Our first presentation. Board of Variance number BOV 747. The civic address is 21 Roberts Street. The applicant is requesting to reduce the front yard setback from 3 meters to 2.5 meters in order to reconstruct a previously existing non-conforming front porch. This represents a variance of 0.5 meters. The zoning bylaw number 4500 requires a minimum front yard setback of 3 meters in the DT8 zone. A porch is permitted to project up to 2 meters into the front yard setback on a single residential dwelling. And just the zoning regulations are the old city mixed use, DT8 zone. And the citing, section 11.5.1, sightings of building, a minimum front yard setback of 3 meters is required. So we have supporting documentation for this application, which includes a location plan, a lot survey, and a letter describing the hardship, as well as architectural plans that include the building elevations. Do we have anybody present who would like to speak to this application?
I'm here from First General Restoration, just representing the homeowner on this insurance claim.
Could you state your name, please? For the record,
Martin.
Great, thank you. And what would you like to add to the application?
I just really want to reiterate here that this was just that she's a homeowner that's been a victim of a vehicle impact. The porch has been attached to that house since 1905, and there's been no hardship to neighboring properties, the neighborhood itself. She's just looking at rebuild exactly to how it was, nothing bigger, nothing smaller, no bigger footprint. Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like it's a case of existing non-conforming and requiring the variance in order to rebuild what was previously there.
Yes, correct.
A couple of questions.
Great, thank you. Nelson has a few questions for you, Brittany.
Yeah, so you're the applicant, and the company who's looking after the restoration is
First General Restoration.
First General, yeah. Now, when I looked at the property, I mean, it says in July of 2020 that the home was struck by a vehicle.
Yes.
And just as a matter of curiosity, there's a steep angle there on that hill. No matter if you're coming up or down, it must have been a very wild car that hit the house.
Yeah, I believe it was an actual drunk driver that hit the house.
Okay, that's first question. And so the house, since the damage is July 2020, are you able to occupy the house, or is it unoccupied?
No, the house is unoccupied right now.
I noticed there's a little trailer there off the side of the house, beside the house.
As far as I know, it's unoccupied. I haven't been able to work in it as they have no hydro.
Okay. And so your application is to basically reconstruct the porch as it was in about 1905. In other words, you want it to be replicated the way it was before it was destroyed.
Before it was destroyed, to pre-law conditions, correct?
Okay, then how would that involve a variance to the setback then?
Because wasn't the setback put in after the house was built?
I could get that answer question, probably refer it to Kayla to clarify. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Existing non-conforming is...
Yes, that's right. So through the chair, there is protection for existing non-conforming structures. In this case, the structure is the front porch, and the structure is essentially removed completely, so it's no longer protected as an existing non-conforming structure. The proposal, though, is to reconstruct it at the same location.
And so by attaching it to an existing building that is non-conforming, I gather, then automatically the porch becomes non-conforming.
That's correct, yes. The variance itself is for the front yard setback, and by varying the front yard setback, it by default also varies where you can locate the front porch. That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
As I read it, the porch will be replaced into what is now the setback, which didn't exist when the house was built, so they need the variance in order to put the porch back where it was existing non-conforming, but it will, if they are successful in the variance, be legally allowed to put that porch there.
Okay, thank you.
You're good. Any more questions, Nelson?
Not on that one.
Great, thank you. Other board members, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I had a question, just curiosity in this one too. The side yard setback for that porch coming from the adjacent property, doesn't show a number there, because I'm not seeing one. I think there's a setback there of 4.5 meters. Because it's a residential lot, is that right? Does that make that?
Sorry, where are you looking, Alan? At the side yard setback?
Yeah, the side yard, well, the side yard to the new deck. I think there's a setback requirement there of, I think I saw 4.5 meters. Because it's a residential property, and it was, I'm not sure if they're both residential properties or not, I'm not sure about that.
And can I ask how that question relates to the request for a setback in the front yard in this application?
I realize that, but I'm just wondering, so the side yard one makes it, because there's no number there, and there is a side requirement for that deck as well.
I can ask Caleb if he could clarify that. Thank you.
Yes, through the chair, that is correct. In the DT8 zone, there is a side yard setback of 4.5 meters where it abuts the residential zone. However, in this case, I believe it's actually just abutting another DT8 zone, but let me just confirm that for you.
I thought I saw it was R15 zone.
Oh, okay. Right, that could be the case there. 1 second here. Right, okay. Yes, no, I don't have that number on the survey plan provided. I believe it would have been reviewed at the through the building permit application, but I don't have that number here. I'm wondering, through the chair perhaps, I don't know if the applicant might have that distance. I'm not sure. That's
What are we talking about?
from here to here.
Oh,
Where's that?
sure. So Caleb can,
5 meters, I'm not sure what that is. I don't have a couple words. Where's that? 5 meters, I'm not sure.
okay, so there is a setback requirement, side yard setback requirement here that applies to the deck as well, and it's not dimensioned. So we aren't sure if the deck meets the side yard setback. May I ask the applicant if there's clarification on the site plan that we have? There is no dimension for the distance of the deck from the side yard, unless, could we not
I
say?
don't give my plan either, and that was explained during my building permit review.
Would it not be fair to, is that not the same dimension? 5.9 meters from back of building to front of house?
So it's 5.5 on that side.
Oh.
Yeah, and then on this side.
Right, oh, wrong side. I was thinking the wrong side. It's been stated that there's a side yard setback of 4.5 meters required on either side of the house, and there's 5.9 meters provided on the one side yard setback to the new deck, but on the other side, we don't have that information. Is that correct, Brittany? You don't have that either?
I don't have that, I just have the one side of the house of 5.9.
Okay. So we can't answer that question directly, Alan. So we are free to continue with discussing the application or take an alternative action, I guess, if you don't feel like there's enough information present to continue with this application.
Just when I'm looking at the 5.9 meters on one side and try to reference that, sort of visually look at that to the other one, which is supposed to be 4.5, which is quite a bit bigger than normal because of the zoning. It just looks like it could be too close. It looks like that to me, but I'm not sure. I don't have a scale of 1 to 200, so I don't know.
Would it, a question for staff, would that be something that planning or the permitting department would have considered when reviewing this application for the front yard setback? Like if there was an issue with the side yard setback as well, would that be brought up in this meeting, or would that be an alternative application?
Yes, so through the chair, I personally haven't been involved with the permit review for this one, so I don't know what has been reviewed there on the side yard. But just, I guess just to remind the board that the variance request is strictly for the front yard there, so if it is identified that there is additional nonconformities, that would have to be addressed separately. Okay. We wouldn't be considering additional variance requests through this application, because the notices have already gone out for what the variance request is.
Thank you for the clarification.
So the variance then would strictly be for, and noted that it would only be for the front yard, and if there was a side yard required, they would have to come back to the board again, is that right? And if it was okay, they wouldn't need.
I believe that's correct, Alan, to reiterate that this application is only for the front yard setback. And if it's discovered that an alternative setback is required for the side yard, then that would be addressed in a different application. We need to stay focused on the one aspect of this application, which is the front yard setback.
So I understand to stay focused on, I understand about staying focused on it, but just, I just wouldn't want to see it passed with the front yard and just, and yes, you know, that it wasn't looked at. I don't know, but if they're going to look at it, fine, but it just seems to be a little sloppy.
Hi, yes, please, Nelson.
Well, this goes back to a previous meeting, and maybe what I'm going to describe is not always the same and it varies. My understanding was that applications for variance were proceeded with, and then an application was made for a building permit. I heard earlier that they either have a building permit or I've already made an application for a building permit. So, okay, thank you.
I'll refer to Caleb to clarify that. I'm not sure whether it's a case by case or if the application for the variance is always required prior to the issuing of a building permit, is my understanding.
Yes, through the chair, often what happens in these situations is the first step someone will take is applying for that building permit, and then the review may get a certain way down the road until it's noted that there is a nonconformity or something that may require a variance, and then the building permit would be put on hold until the variance or the nonconformity has been addressed. I mean, it could happen differently. It could happen that someone comes in and applies for variance first if they're aware of that, but oftentimes they're not aware of that.
Yeah, and the objective would be hopefully to move things along and, you know, cut down on red tape and all the rest of it. But on the other hand, as is being raised, if there's a piece of information missing, I'm getting on the other side for the setback, I gather that's going to be looked at. Or if you indicated, if it comes up in a subsequent examination, it might result in another application for a variance. That's what you're saying.
Through the chair, it's possible if they do determine that there is another non-conformity there. I haven't been involved with the permit review, so it may have already been reviewed and determined it doesn't meet that.
Yeah.
I'm not too familiar there. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
So the course of action here would be to accept this site plan as is, assuming that the review has determined there are no other breaches of setbacks, and we can move ahead with either approving or rejecting this application. But if there's any board members that do not feel confident making a motion or supporting a motion because of lack of information, then we can take a different course of action, which I'm not sure what it is because we've never done it, but I know there's an alternative, and I'll refer to Caleb for that.
Madam Chair, I have confidence in the city planning staff, and I believe that since the review picked up the variance that's the subject of the application, I'm quite confident that they would have picked up one at the side yard as well. And so I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay, thank you for that, Ken. I will just ask if Dariush or any other members have anything to add.
I would like to say one more thing, just to get it off my chest.
Yes, of course.
I don't know how it could have been. I don't know how they could have confirmed it because there's no number there. So I don't know how that could have been confirmed. I don't know.
Again, we don't have the information to clarify it at the moment, Alan. So.
Oh, no, I know we don't have the. That's the problem. We don't have the information. You know, it is what it is. But. Caleb, I'm assuming that this gets noted to the building department. I mean, just to know that they actually have been, it's been flagged and look at that.
Yes, in the notes, we will have. Caleb can answer that.
Thank you, through the chair. Yes, absolutely. I've taken note of that and can ensure that is checked if it hasn't already. But also, we do have, just so you're aware, a software that can utilize a scaled survey and determine distances, even if the distance isn't provided on a survey. So we do have software that is able to measure that.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for clarifying, Caleb.
So I'll second.
Okay, we'll have to get it right first.
Oh, we already said it.
Okay. Hi, Dariush. What would you like to add?
I don't have any problem with what they are proposing because it was at one point the habitat porch already and the house cannot change interior to accommodate the new porch. Not conforming, so I think it's okay. But I do have two comments. It's not the question, just the comment. One, if the building has the wood, and because of the dark slope road, it can be happening again. And my concern is the safety. Maybe based off the dark porch should be concrete posts, at least to give the little bit protection for if that happen again. And the second comment, as an architect, you always want to maximize what you're going to do, can do in what property. This property, ET8 zone, which has a lot of density available and building is not occupied. This is just, I mean, it's just giving my opinion. It can be much to that property instead of the building to the original place. It can be, it's not livable right now. It can be changed and do the nicer, bigger, more units there in downtown. But as it is presented, I don't have an issue to build this one, and I will support that.
Excellent. Thank you, Dariush, for your advice and opinions. If there's any other questions, if there isn't any other questions, then I believe Ken would like to make a motion regarding this application.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the board approve application BOV 747 to vary section 11.5.1 of zoning bylaw number 4500 to reduce the front yard setback from 3 meters to 2.5 meters in order to reconstruct a previously existing non-conforming front porch.
Excellent. Thank you, Ken. Could we have somebody second? Thank you. Nelson, second the motion. Could we do a show of hands for all who are in favor of this motion? Excellent. Unanimous. Brittany, planning department will be in touch. The application has been approved.
Thank you.
We're good? Brittany's done? Okay. Moving on to our second application this evening. we have BOV 748, civic address 1382 Roseanne Drive. The applicant is requesting to reduce the required setback for a garage door from 6 meters to 4.36 meters in order to permit a proposed addition to an existing single residential dwelling. This represents a variance of 1.64 meters. Zoning bylaw number 4500 requires a minimum setback of 6 meters for all garage doors and carport entranceways facing a street on a single residential dwelling.
So, for clarity, can I ask,
Yes.
is the applicant Joss Knight Shining Knight Construction, or is the applicant who owns the property?
We have the applicant as being Josh Knight. There, to my knowledge, was no indication in the application as to who the owner of the property is. I can ask Caleb if there's any more information regarding that. Sorry.
Sorry. I can say, my name is Valerie Fulford, and myself and my husband own the property.
Oh, okay.
And then, hi Valerie, Josh is representing you in your application.
Yeah. Just a point that if applicants own the property and the applicants apply, and they may have a construction company, but it seems that people own the property should be on the application, and maybe there's reference to who's going to be doing the construction.
Sure.
I mean, it's a small point, but I get somewhat confused that did the company buy the property and or renovate it or whatever, you never know.
I'm not sure, and Caleb could clarify if there is any requirements for disclosure of ownership or contractors in the application process.
Yes, so through the chair, there's no requirement that the owner be the applicant for any application, but what we require is, of course, an appointment of agent from the owner authorizing them to apply on behalf of that property. So we will then just indicate who the applicant is on the notices and as part of the package, not necessarily who the owner would be.
Okay. Good question, because we see it go both ways. That there's often the construction company representing the client, and a lot of times the client comes themselves, and I also wasn't clear on if there was a process or requirement for disclosure.
Right, and the public interest oftentimes would be represented in a particular way by the owners, and not necessarily if it's an advocate.
Sure.
Who has an economic interest.
Absolutely. I think that an application can vary dramatically depending on who and what is presented in favor or not for.
Okay, well, I've learned something new here.
Me too. Excellent, thank you. As part of our application, we have a site plan, we've got a lot survey, a rationale letter, and architectural plans that include the building elevations. Do we have people present to speak to this application? And could you please state your name when you take the mic?
I would appreciate going first. My name is Valerie Fulford, and myself and my husband have owned the home for over 23 years.
Wow.
And the house, it was built in the 70s as a 2-bedroom home, and on the face of the drawings it might not be clear, but the reason it's not your typical rectangular home is because the property is sloped so much that the original builder was trying to take advantage of the small portion that's flat, of the property. It's built on bedrock and it slopes on all sides quite a bit. So the house, when it was originally built, it had a garage, which the previous property owners had turned into a family room because they said it was very difficult to turn into the garage from the side. It was a 90-degree angle. And also they had some drainage issues because, again, of the slope of the property above. So when we bought the house, we have 2 daughters, so a 2-bedroom house wasn't ideal for us. So we put up a wall
in that room to make our house a 4-bedroom house. And the square footage of that area is about 460 square feet. And so we're hoping to incorporate that existing portion into our addition. So the net additional square footage would be 1,284 square feet. And when it's all said and done, we would end up with a 3-bedroom home with a family room on that side, so that we have a place that's comfortable for guests. The reason we couldn't push the garage farther into our backyard is because our backyard is already very small. We have room for a fire pit and some chairs and not much else. And then we're also constrained to inside of our house because of the hallway that goes to that area limits where the wall can be for the garage. So we've come in as far as we can from that perspective as well. We wanted to keep the house as a single story the way it is existing to keep that architecture the way it is. And so the maximum height of the addition would be 7 meters. If we were allowed to proceed, then the total area would be 3,328 square feet. And the garage portion, we plan to have 2 parking spaces there for cars, and then the remainder portion would be a workshop. And as it stands right now, we've had for many years our poor neighbors have put up with the Costco tarp garages, and so we'd really love to have something a little nicer, both for them and for ourselves and our guests.
Great.
That's all I've got.
Great, thank you, Valerie. I see a few more people online. Would anybody else like to speak or have any comments regarding this application?
Hi, it's Josh Knight, the contractor working with the Holfords on the project.
Hi.
Valerie was pretty clear with the design rationale and stuff. I just want to reiterate that we spent a lot of time trying to make a space, make the space kind of conform to the property, and this was the best that we were able to come up with.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. We have the elevations and board members, questions, concerns? I'm sorry?
There's one more person too.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you say your name?
Yes, my name's Murray Walters. I live at 3015 King Richard Drive.
Oh, thank you.
Across the backyard from the Fulfords. And I received a couple of notices that this was going on. I thought it was pretty efficient. One hand delivered and another one in the mail a couple of days later. Just to your earlier comment, your system seems to be working good.
Thank you.
I've lived in that neighborhood in my current house since 1989. The neighborhood is pretty eclectic for Nanaimo. It's got lots of different house styles built in every decade since the 60s. There's lots of different building codes and zoning requirements. Obviously have been in place over that time. Lots of different interpretations of setback over the years, and some crazy steep driveways and ditches, curbs, and sidewalks some places and others not. The area is pretty well built out. I think I walk around the neighborhood a lot, and I think there's a total of 2 lots in that entire sort of general area that haven't been built on yet. It's pretty well full. And generally, as the houses have aged in the area, people have really kept up with their maintenance, and in a lot of cases have done really extensive renovations and modernizations and things like that, which is good. And I think that, sort of in combination with the relatively large lot sizes in today's sort of housing ideal, and combined with the ocean glimpses that a lot of us have, lots of nearby services, I mean, it makes the neighborhood a pretty popular place to settle and raise families. So, with that all said, I'd like to speak in support of the Fulford's application for a variance on their garage door setback. I believe it's a reasonable request, as it won't affect the character of the visual flow of the neighborhood. I think it can probably enhance the character of the neighborhood. The new house design I've seen is pretty balanced. It fits in with the topography there, and as Valerie mentioned, it's pretty darn steep. It also fits in well with all the Gary oak trees and things that are hanging around there. So it kind of enhances that, I think. I also think, there is still a few meters of setback there to the garage door, and it's a pretty wide driveway, and I don't think there'd be any issues with sightlines for people coming in and out of the driveway, or for people coming up and down Roseland Drive. It's pretty wide open there. I don't think that should be an issue. And as Valerie mentioned, the steepness of the back of the property, which kind of plunges down into my yard, it would be incredibly difficult to build any further back in there. It's solid rock. I think that's a really big issue. So I think it's important that the city is flexible on stuff like this. There's already a lot of variation in the siting of houses in this neighborhood, as you know. There's more people lost in Sherwood Forest on a daily basis than anywhere else in Nanaimo, I'm sure. There isn't a lot of build-up potential, so we're not going to get a lot of copycat builders who say they did it, so we can do it. I don't think that's a big issue in the neighborhood. And generally, the entire neighborhood gets better as people do tasteful renovations and increase housing values in properties that are older and been around a while. I know mine was built in the 60s, and I've renovated it a couple of times, and it's, everybody gets happy when the neighbors renovate their house. So that's really all I've got today. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Excellent, thank you. Those were some really great points of support. Appreciate it. Any other member or folks who would like to speak to the application? I don't want to miss anyone, I'm sorry, my apologies. Caleb, Shane quickly. Okay, excellent. Thank you for...
I just wanted to speak just to Caleb for a minute to the city.
Of course.
The idea of the garage door, carport door, setback issue here, is that a sightline thing, or is that more of an aesthetics thing, so that you don't have a bunch of row houses going along with a whole bunch of garage doors facing onto the street? Is that what this is bylaw more about than anything?
Yes, and through the chair, I do believe the intent is possibly two or threefold. As you mentioned, there is the aesthetic. We are interested in maintaining breaks in the front yards of buildings, so we're not just ending with, as you say, a row of garage doors. But also beyond that, there's also the intent is to have space for a vehicle to park on the driveway between the property line and the entrance of the carport or the garage door. In many cases, that is, if there's only a one-car garage, for example, that would be the only place you could fit a second car on the property. So I think those are the two kind of primary factors that lead to that setback requirement.
Thank you, Caleb. Does that answer your question, Alan?
Yes, it does. Just wanted to clarify. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Nelson, any questions for you?
No, I took a look at it, and you really want to get rid of those temporary garages that are there and make a big, I think the owner, Mr. Walters, has made some good case. I'm in support of it.
Okay, great. Ken, Dariush, any questions or comments for the application or for Caleb, the city, for clarification on any items for this application?
I have a question of the applicant. There's quite a lot of mature, lush landscaping on that property. How much of that will be removed to allow your new addition?
I'm not sure if I'm the applicant still or Josh, but I can answer for you that none of it would be removed. I have some perennials along the front that I would move to the bedrock further down.
Yeah, that's right. It was you that I was interested in.
Okay. We love our trees, so, yeah.
Okay, that was my question, that you're not going to be taking out any of that mature growth that's there, and also serves to really quite effectively hide the bulk of your house.
It's true, and we really appreciate the privacy that it provides, and love watching the squirrels and the trees. We're big fans, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Dariush, anything to add?
Yes, one question, as I understand correctly, there is no street in this property, correct?
So there's no suite and no intention of putting in a suite either.
Okay, that's great. My comment is, as Caleb mentioned, that usually 6 meters is for additional parking space, but as they are providing already 2 parking garage and properties already has lots of frontage, I have a friend living there, and it's very nice, quiet neighborhood, and they don't have a traffic or any car issue. I am supporting the project. I think it's a good addition.
Great, thank you very much, Dariush. If there are any further questions, please take the stand and we can make a motion one way or the other if board members are ready for that. Nelson?
I'd like to move the
Great, Nelson will make a motion regarding the application.
Board of Variance number BOV 748, 1382 Roseanne Drive. I move that the board approve application BOV 748 to vary section 7.5.3 of zoning bylaw number 4500 to reduce the required setback for a garage door from 6 meters to 4.36 meters in order to permit a proposed addition to an existing single residential dwelling.
Excellent, thank you. Could we have a second for the motion? Anyone would like to second?
Second.
Ken, thank you. All in favor of approving this application, show of hands, please. Excellent. Application's been approved unanimously.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. City will be in touch. The planning department will reach out regarding your application.
You're all invited to come over for a coffee donut when we're done.
Yeah, you have a lovely house there. Great house.
Thank you. All right,
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. That concludes the applications for this evening. We do have one outstanding business item to take care of. I'll pass it to Caleb.
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to follow up on an email that had been sent to everyone on the board by Elaine, I believe. Just to update you on the staff liaison, we will be having a new staff liaison starting for the April Board of Variance meeting, should there be one. And that will be Sadie Ray Robinson, who's observing right now, and she'll be attending at the next meeting in April. And that's just the update we want to provide.
Excellent. Thank you, Caleb. Hi, Sadie. Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hi there. So will Sadie be joining us via Zoom or will she be here? Okay. Okay, great. Excellent. Well, we'll see you next month, Sadie, if there is a meeting. And unless there's any other issues to talk about, we can have a motion to adjourn for tonight.
So moved.
Thanks, Ken. To second?
I'll second.
Thank you, gentlemen. All in favor of saying goodnight?